W. Melly is back in court today, with his lawyer arguing that the state has not provided enough evidence to justify keeping him in jail. However, prosecutors believe they have enough proof to show that he should stay behind bars. This is a crucial moment for W. Melly, as he may have one last chance to leave jail before his trial in September 2025. His attorneys are preparing to challenge the evidence presented by the prosecution. If they succeed, he could be released. Following this development, the attorneys discussed the possibility of his release and when it might happen. To fully understand the situation, it is important to consider what others have said about W. Melly. One person claimed that the government is doing whatever it wants with him, whether it is legal or not, and added more charges against him. The individual said they could tell the authorities wanted him badly when they waited for a new law to pass before taking him to trial. The person pointed out that Melly had been in jail for 2 or 3 years before the trial even started. "When they want you, they said," emphasizing how long they waited to bring him to trial. In another shocking turn of events, W. Melly's mother is now suing the county jail where he is being held in an effort to help him get out. She has filed a lawsuit against the Broward Sheriff's Office, accusing them of cruel treatment. She is asking for his immediate release from prison, claiming that he has not been allowed to speak to or see any family for 3 years. She describes this as a very sad reality that he has been living for 5 years. She also mentioned that the federal authorities seem to have the power to do whatever they want with him. Melly's mother also painted a bleak picture of his life behind bars. She was furious that after a mistrial, Melly was not granted release. In most cases, when someone receives a mistrial, they are either released on bond or placed under house arrest. However, W. Melly was kept in jail. He is not even allowed to use a phone or check his own mail, while other inmates, even those who have been convicted, are allowed such basic privileges. His mother claimed that they hold his mail and restrict his ability to communicate with his loved ones, which only made matters worse. This situation caught the attention of Charleston White, who made his own comments about W. Melly's situation. He argued that Melly should not be treated differently just because he is a famous rapper, especially considering the serious crime he is accused of. White said he was glad Melly was in jail and getting mistreated, stating that when someone takes a life, they have no right to complain about their treatment. This comment greatly upset Melly's mother, Jamie King, who continued to fight for her son's release and to bring attention to the way he is being treated. Melly's mother has been vocal about the immense pain she feels seeing her son suffer behind bars. She has openly shared how devastated she is and how powerless she feels to protect him. The way her son is being treated in prison is far from humane, and she believes this harsh treatment will only complicate his chances of being released. Melly himself has spoken out, expressing how deeply he is hurting and how terrified he is for his life in jail. As a mother, these words have cut her deeply. It's a mother's worst nightmare to hear her child suffering, especially when she feels like there is nothing she can do to ease his pain or ensure he is treated fairly. Her frustration has grown with each passing day as she sees how the system seems to be doing little to improve his situation. She has taken steps to call attention to what she believes is an injustice. Melly's mother has called for a full investigation into the Broward Sheriff's Office, arguing that the staff in charge are making their own rules and disregarding basic human rights. She insists that the treatment her son is receiving is cruel and inhumane, and no one is stepping up to hold those responsible accountable. In an attempt to make things right, Melly's legal team took the matter to court, hoping for some relief for him. Unfortunately, their efforts were met with a dead end. The judge ruled that they do not have the authority to intervene in the actions of the jail. This ruling was deeply frustrating for Melly's mother, as it felt like another setback in her quest to see her son treated with dignity and respect. She believes the authorities should be held accountable for the treatment of inmates, especially when it involves someone like her son, who is already facing such serious charges. Instead of receiving fair treatment, it feels like he is being punished in ways that go beyond what the law should allow. Melly's mother is not alone in feeling the emotional weight of this situation. Many people have expressed their support for her, acknowledging the emotional toll this case is taking on her. Some have even reached out to her personally, offering words of encouragement and recognizing her strength. While this support is appreciated, it cannot take away the immense pain she is experiencing as she watches her son go through such an incredibly difficult time. People who know her have praised her resilience, but they also acknowledge the heavy burden she carries as she tries to navigate through the complexities of the legal system and advocate for her son's well-being. In the meantime, Melly's attorneys have not given up. They continue to fight for his release, presenting new evidence and pushing back against the claims made by the prosecution. One of the key pieces of evidence they are presenting includes text messages from Melly's phone, which were sent during the time the crime was allegedly being committed. These text messages provide a window into Melly's state of mind during that moment. They suggest that he was communicating with an ex-friend while fleeing from a car that he believed was carrying people who were trying to harm him. The texts show that he was scared for his life and was hiding, trying to stay safe and figure out what was going on. In one of the messages, he reassured his friend that he was okay, despite the dangerous situation he found himself in. However, the prosecution has pointed out a major flaw in Melly's defense. They argue that no firearms were found at the scene of the crime, which directly contradicts Melly's claims that he was being attacked by individuals in the car with guns. The absence of weapons seems to weaken the defense's argument that Melly was simply acting in self-defense. This discrepancy has raised doubts in the minds of those who are following the case, as the lack of physical evidence to support Melly's version of events complicates his defense. Despite these challenges, Melly's legal team is not backing down. They are determined to continue presenting evidence that they believe will show Melly's innocence and justify his release. They are working tirelessly to find any shred of evidence that can cast doubt on the prosecution's claims and help their client regain his freedom. At the same time, Melly's mother remains hopeful that, in the end, justice will prevail and that her son will be given a fair chance to prove his side of the story. This case has drawn significant attention, not only because of the serious nature of the charges against Melly, but also because of the way he is being treated in prison. The broader implications of this case go beyond Melly himself, raising important questions about how the justice system handles inmates, especially those who are facing high-profile charges. It has sparked conversations about the rights of prisoners, the conditions in which they are held, and whether the system is truly designed to serve justice, or if it often fails those who need it the most. As the trial continues and more evidence is presented, Melly and his mother hold on to the hope that the truth will come to light and that he will be treated fairly. The road ahead is long and uncertain, but their fight is far from over. In response, the federal authorities have compiled a 6-page document to argue that Melly should remain in jail. They point to a text message sent by Melly hours after the crime, in which he seemed to admit his involvement. He also used a smiley face emoji in the message, which the authorities argue shows he wasn't taking the situation seriously. Further evidence from Melly's phone included a video from Facebook Live where Melly and another person were seen dancing and recording a music video just hours after the crime. Melly's defense team explained that they had already planned to shoot the music video and couldn't cancel, so they went ahead with it, putting on a brave face. However, some people saw this as Melly and his friend not showing any sorrow for the deaths of their two close friends. After the trial, new evidence came to light, suggesting that Melly had been close to someone who had passed away and was dealing with financial pressure from people close to him. It was revealed that Melly had been talking to a close friend, King Von, for advice about how to handle the situation, where he felt his friends were trying to take advantage of him for money. This information seemed to add complexity to Melly's situation. Further investigation showed that Melly and his friend Borland had a business where they made money from concerts, merchandise, and promoting themselves on social media. As the trial continued, the prosecution also focused on the physical evidence, including the vehicle used during the crime, trying to prove it was not a drive-by shooting, as initially claimed. The investigators' conclusion was that this was not a drive-by shooting, based on the evidence in a particular picture. The picture shows the trajectory of the shots. Most of the shots were fired while the vehicle was stationary, except for one round which showed some movement. When asked about the number of rounds fired inside and outside the car, it was confirmed that 3 rounds were fired inside the vehicle. The prosecutor also questioned whether the shots came from outside the car, but it was confirmed that they did not. During the trial, the mother of one of the boys involved, who had known all the young men for the past 10 years, testified that the crime must have taken place inside the vehicle. She described where everyone was sitting in the car. When she was asked if she recognized who got into the car, she pointed out that her son entered from the back seat on the right side. She also identified another individual entering from the back seat on the left side, who was confirmed to be the defendant, Jamal, also known as YNW Melly. Prosecutors believed that the evidence against Melly alone was not enough to keep him in jail, so they shifted their focus to his associate, Portland Henry, also known as Borland. Borland was recently arrested and is facing additional charges. He was booked into a Miami jail on a warrant for witness tampering, which involved misleading a person who was scheduled to testify in Melly's trial. The charges are based on actions that occurred from April to July 2023, just before and during the jury selection process. A federal raid on Borland's home uncovered shocking evidence, documents, and a drawing of the jurors' appearances. Borland had attended the original trial for just one day and reportedly made sketches of the jurors, possibly to intimidate them. The discovery of these notes in his home led to more serious charges. People found it hard to believe how reckless it was for Borland to have such sensitive information, comparing it to having surveillance footage at home. If Melly had been sentenced to life in prison, Borland could have potentially used these notes to seek revenge on the jurors. As a result, Melly and Borland are facing even more charges, including witness tampering, directing criminal activities, and unlawful use of a communication device. Some of these charges carry life sentences. Borland's actions in trying to interfere with the trial, including using code words to prevent Melly's ex-girlfriend from testifying, were also revealed by Melly's father. These new developments suggest that Melly and his associates were going to extreme lengths to stop people from testifying against them. The prosecutors revealed that Melly's communication was often done through indirect means, since he was not allowed to use the phone. Instead, he passed notes and had people communicate on his behalf using code words. This pattern of behavior is now part of the charges against him and his associates. The case has taken an even darker turn with these allegations.